So the truth is that we haven't addressed the big difference between the way of talking in which we listen to ourselves while we speak, which I call embodied language, and the way of talking that we're all used to, where we are made to listen to others, or we're trying to get others to listen to us, but we're not listening to ourselves. And that is disembodied language. We do not acknowledge this difference. And therefore, with our disembodied language, which remains unaddressed, we are experiencing, forever escalating problems which cannot be solved because they cannot be addressed with our disembodied language. So here is a piece of writing that will further highlight the importance of having embodied language instead of disembodied language. And we cannot have embodied language as long as disembodied language hasn't been properly addressed and therefore stopped. Yeah. So we haven't addressed the difference between disembodied language and embodied language. Therefore, we unknowingly engage in disembodied language by default. That is what we have done until now, until today. You can read it in my writing on my Substack account or on my X account. You can hear me talk about this in all of my videos. We haven't addressed our disembodied language that we are constantly engaged in. We haven't addressed it properly. Because we keep engaging in disembodied language by default without realizing it. Moreover, we continuously talk with our disembodied language about disembodied language. But we cannot address our disembodied language correctly with disembodied language. Disembodied language can only be correctly addressed by what I have, embodied language. Yeah? I am listening to myself. I have embodied language. And when you speak like that, everything changes. As long as we mechanically engage in our disembodied language, we can only pretend to have what I have. Yeah? You can only pretend to have embodied language. And then with your pretentious disembodied language, you are pretending that you are having embodied language, but you are still having disembodied language, and you're still addressing the disembodied language of others with your disembodied language. Yes. I have embodied language, which is totally different from your disembodied language. So we can only pretend to have embodied language, and then we are trying to address the disembodied language of others with our own pretentious disembodied language. Yeah. And let's face it, that unaddressed disembodied language, that is our problem. Yeah. We are each other's problem, but we are also our own problem. Actually, we cannot directly address the disembodied language of others. Yeah, this is another conundrum that we have to deal with. I cannot address your disembodied language. You can only address your own disembodied language. I can talk about it, but I cannot really make it go away or stop it. Yeah? You can pretend to have stopped it, but you haven't stopped it. So, actually, we can not directly address the disembodied language of others, as this would make us engage in disembodied language ourselves as well. And this is precisely what we have been doing all along. Yeah, so every time we've tried to address the disembodied language of others, we have unknowingly continued with our own disembodied language. And we never, ever come around to have what I have, embodied language. We can only address our own disembodied language, Yeah, by speaking with ourselves, by listening to ourselves, by acknowledging like, oh, this is my disembodied language. I wasn't listening to myself. Yeah. And then we can stop it, and then we can have embodied language in which we listen to ourselves. Because we listen to ourselves while we speak or not. Yeah? So there's nothing in between listening to yourself or not listening to yourself. That is why they are called binary. Yeah? The current political divisive debate, or whatever you want to call it, the rhetoric, the continuous hateful rhetoric that is going on, it illustrates that we cannot and we should not go on with our disembodied language. There was, due to all the hateful and demonizing rhetoric, another third major attempt to kill the president and perhaps also his staff. And this should cause all Americans to take some time and to talk with themselves instead of with each other. Yes, I would like you to talk with yourself, because that's the only way in which you're going to be able to determine, oh, I wasn't listening to myself. Oh, that is disembodied language. Oh, when I listen to myself, I have embodied language, which is very, very different. In embodied language, we will talk with each other in the exact same way as we talk with ourselves, as there is no threat, and the speaker is his or her own listener. They are one. The speaker and the listener are one. In disembodied language, by contrast, we imagine and we make it seem as if there is a separation between the speaker and the listener. And we force this onto each other. We force this onto ourselves. And these others, and we ourselves too, we always react. They always react because they feel justifiably attacked and threatened. Thus, real human interaction must occur in a stable, safe environment. Similarly to a scientific laboratory, which is a controlled environment in which we come to know what is actually happening. I'm sitting here by myself in my chair, which is a bit squeaky, you may hear it. But I'm here by myself, there's no threat. And the speaker is the listener when you are your own listener. When there is nobody there to tell you otherwise, that the speaker is not the listener, that they're separate. No, they're not separate when you talk with yourself. That is embodied language. And that is how we can finally get out of this whole horrific, violent name calling, which is all just creating an atmosphere of hatred, an atmosphere of divisiveness, an atmosphere of violence, and an atmosphere which is toxic and threatening. We must be able to talk like this, so the way I am talking right now. And the only way in which we're going to do it is if we're going to be able to listen to ourselves, if we are not threatened. So that's how real communication occurs. In science, we're not forcing our opinion on the reality. No, we are observing, we are describing, and we are sort of putting it together, what's going on, formulating hypotheses. We are looking to see if that is true, what we're saying. We're verifying, and yes, it is true, and we have real knowledge. And that's exactly what happens also in embodied language. It is a scientific endeavor, not a spiritual endeavor. Spirituality is finished. once we have embodied language. And we cannot pray our way out of this horrific, toxic stuff that keeps going on. Yeah, whether it is in our politics here in the United States, or whether it is, I don't know, religious differences, cultural differences, it's all the same. It's all another way of saying that our actions are determined by our way of dealing with language. And so we haven't really dealt with it. We haven't dealt with our disembodied language. And I'm dealing with it. I can deal with it. I can say all of this because I know this. Yeah. And I hope you are going to experiment on your own so that by the 4th of July, Independence Day, you're able to have embodied language with me. And then we can really begin a new chapter in human behavior, in human sociality, in human interaction. Yeah. And that's where we ought to be with our individualism. Real, authentic communication.